Hey guys, welcome to the TGS Sauna. Today we are going to be talking about French guns. Many of you will be thinking that France really isn't a big player in the gun game. You know, they're not well known for custom built sporting guns, but they do have quite a few makers, or at least 10 makers I'm going to talk about today, who are well known worldwide gun makers. Or if you don't know about them, you damn well should, because there are some pretty epic guns in this pile. More important than that actually is that France has an amazing gun making history with some amazing inventions and some really innovative stuff. But we're not going to be talking about French gun making history today. We're going to be talking about French gun making in 2020. So without further ado, let's start the list of guns made in the land of liberty, fraternity and equality. So let's start with Mathelon, although that's kind of a fallacy because they don't really exist anymore. They make some of the most heavyweight and robust revolvers of all time. Really good, but they were actually bought out by another company who is much more well known. That company is Chapuis Arms. So Chapuis Arms purchased Mathelon in 1998, but more importantly, we're not going to talk about Chapuis Arms' history here because it is pretty epic and long and filled with some pretty good guns and some, well, less good guns like all makers have. But we're going to talk about their current incarnation. Their current incarnation started in March 2019 when they were actually bought out by Beretta Holdings. So they are a Beretta-owned company, but like half of the gun makers in Europe. And they offer pretty much any gun you could ever want. Over and under double rifles, express double rifles, drillings, over and under shotguns, side shotguns, everything. Even a little single shot mountain rifle. So their over and under shotgun is called the Super Orion and their side-by-side is called the Progress. They have 4 different levels, the lightweight being the basic and then 3 others thereafter. The 3 others thereafter all come with custom stocking and custom options. So actually they're probably one of the most reasonably priced custom built shotguns in the world. From the classic to the artisan to the grand luxe, all those 3 are available in the side-by-side. They don't actually make a budget side-by-side, but all those 3 are custom built, as I said. And everyone who's bought one that I know of has enjoyed it and hasn't complained about it. So I would say there's some level of success to be garnered from that information, if nothing else. The Super Orion and the Progress are also available in rifle barreled actions. There is the Oral, the single shot, that's quite nice. And then there is the Rolls, rifle opening and locking shut. The Chapuis Rolls. It's a straight pull rifle, it's quite smart, it's a bit different to everyone else's, but kind of the same as a lot of other people's. If you like straight pull rifles, go and check one out if you haven't already. I wouldn't say it's the best straight pull out there, but it is nonetheless very interesting. And the fact that you can have a load of custom options done for it for not massive money makes it quite competitive if you want a pretty straight pull. Next up is the Verney-Carron guns. Many people know the Verney-Carron name from Lean Verney-Carron, which is their clothing side of the brand, even though they're 2 completely separate companies. It is a company with the same name that makes guns. 2 in particular I want to talk about today. One is the Speedmaster. This is available as a shotgun and as a rifle. And it is a lever release, so you pull the trigger, it goes bang, the bolt comes, flies back, you press a lever, the lever shuts. This is more designed in the shotgun for countries that aren't allowed semi-automatics, Australia, and in the rifle for countries that aren't allowed semi-automatic full bores, UK. However, there is proved to be, well, there isn't really a presence of them in the UK, but countries where there are, they aren't perhaps the best for abuse. They are built to a budget, they're quite a reasonably priced thing. However, if you want a lever release rifle that's significantly less than every other lever release rifle in the market, the Speedmaster, the old click, 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 is actually a really reasonably priced option. They have had potentially issues with magazine feed and they are not the most accurate rifles, but they fill a hole in the market and they're significantly less than every other lever release. Did I say that before? I don't think I said that before. I think the price there is something that's definitely worth bearing in mind. Plus, they're a non-tactical looking lever release, which will appeal to those who perhaps don't like the tactical stuff. Next up is something that we saw at EWA last year, and both me and Ant were unbelievably impressed with that. It was a pump action called the Impact, a pump action full bore rifle. Obviously, we can't really have them here, but nonetheless, it was really smart. The way that the actual pump was shrouded around the fore end, so you didn't have a wobbly fore end, it actually slid in and out. It felt really, really good. And from what they were saying, it's actually one of the best sellers worldwide. I liked it. It felt really good. It's a shame we can't have them here, but nonetheless, an amazing gun. They also make a load of other guns, and they have made a load of other guns. Their over and unders in the past were not great, but they were very reasonable price for what they were. And they have a very unique styling, Verney-Carron over and unders in the past and currently. Whether you like that or not, well, I'm not here to bully you or tell you anything. I'd love your thoughts, but it's not for me. Next on the list is Dorleac and Dorleac, or Dorleac et Dorleac. They are a specialist in Mauser bolt action rifles. They make all sorts, from a beautiful Stutzen to, well, my personal favourite, which is the Big Game Safari. It's wicked. Anything big is cool, especially with something like 500 Jeffrey. I think you'll agree it's an awesome looking rifle. Also, what they do is two others that are worth mentioning. They do a full-sized 2.2 Mauser. A full-sized Mauser. It's called the man-sized 2.2LR, quite aptly. Looks just the same as every other, but if you always wanted to own a Mauser 98 but only have a 2.2LR on your ticket, there's an option. Or if you want to have a Mauser 98 that you can shoot in a smaller parcel of land, there you go. Is it cheap? No, of course it's not cheap. It's Mauser 98. They're all sorting expensive because actually what was quite a convenient thing to manufacture back then has now been picked up by all the custom makers now, including these guys. They produce some amazing and beautiful rifles. They also make a little single shot, which, oh, of course I like. It's smart. It's a good looking rifle. But if you want a Mauser and you're in France, they seem to be the people to go to. Every variant under the sun is available to you. Go and check them out. Next up on the list is the Bretton Gaucher. Many of you will have heard of the Baby Breton in the past. It is the lightest shotgun in over and under format on the market. The 12 bore is 2.2 kilos and the 20 bore is 1.9 kilos. It is not a lot of weight there whatsoever. That's because it's not a tilt action, it's a slide action. In classic French style, it is not a hinge breaking shotgun. You press a little lever on the side, the thing opens up, you put 2 cartridges in, and you close it up. So that allows you to have minimal material. You can then get away with using lighter weight materials. There is no midrib, the barrels are slightly shorter than you'd expect, and the stock is extremely short. It is an unbelievably lightweight shotgun. Are they any good? Well, they're quite simple, so yes, why not? And if you want a superbly lightweight over and under, they're the best and most lightest thing out there. It's very interesting. The Baby Breton, I've only ever seen one in the flesh. And don't get me wrong, it's pretty cool. But the one I saw is the basic one. There is a slightly prettier one if you want something that is more engraved and more embellished. And as with all things, the sky's the limit if you want a custom one. Next up, and my favourite on the list, is Tony Gicquel, a Bordeaux gunmaker. And I was completely unaware of his existence up until about a month ago when I saw this little 270 at Holt's that I didn't end up buying because it went for probably what it was worth, which was outside of what I could afford. A 270 single shot mountain rifle. Subsequently, I must have spent maybe about 3 days on his website. This guy makes some of the best guns in France by quite a long way, by what I can see. They're not only beautiful, but every single one is custom. All the other guys I've found always have their specialities, but it's apparent that these guys seem to be able to make pretty much whatever you want. And when you look at their options, when you're looking, for example, at an over and under, you can have side plate, side lock, a round action, a square action, flat filed action, anything you want, pretty much down to the letter. And this guy will make it. That in itself is pretty amazing. And what's more is every gun then you then look at doesn't look like he has kind of just made the one of them, if that makes sense. You see a lot of makers making one-offs and it just clearly isn't their thing and not their style. Everything there is of a unique-ish styling and is beautifully put together and sort of holds its own in a worldwide market. That in itself, just wow. And there you have it. Go check out his website. It's really enjoyable. And, well, if you ever want a French gun, I would recommend his are probably the coolest looking of the lot that I could find, at least. Depending on what style you're into, obviously. Next up, Mathelon Armes, a specialist by the looks in over and under double rifles and combination guns. They do some awesome looking things, including a double 9.3x74R with a 20 bore underneath, so a sort of reverse combo. How we'd see it in a reverse drilling to how we'd usually see them. Really smart, perhaps not my style, perhaps very unique to them. But they do pretty much every combination and every style you could think of, from a very basic one to a very, very pretty one. Something that struck me more than anything about these guns was the quality of the stocking. Lots and lots of very pretty wood. And more importantly, on the checkering, they have little carved borders on a lot of their checkering on their guns, which I think is beautiful. Also, little triple folds on cheek pieces, you know, beautiful little touches. And beautiful little touches are kind of what makes up a gun, I think we'll all agree, because just a plain bog standard thing has no soul. It's the little maker's marks that kind of make a maker certainly more interesting. Next up is Fusil Darne, Darnes. Well, they're well known for their odd actions, same as apparently many French makers. The action where you lift the top up and the breech slides forward, you'll have seen one, you'll have known it, that funny little butterfly sort of locking catch. It's quite cool. Go and check them out. They're not for everybody, but they are interesting and they are quintessentially French. They do every grade under the sun. Every grade under the sun. So you can spend as much on one as you like. They're very pretty ones. There's some less pretty ones. Some very nice finished ones. Some less nice finished ones. More importantly, they actually do an over and under. It's just darn, isn't it? But the over and under is probably interesting, but I'm not sure why you'd go and buy a Darne over and under. If someone can enlighten me on that, well, I would love to be educated. I wouldn't see a point in buying a Darne if it wasn't a really odd action to say, look, I've got a Darne. It's really odd. It's cool. It's French. Woohoo. Anyway, let's move on off of Darne. I find them far too confusing. Next up is Granger, or Granger. They seem to be the ones who make the fine guns of France. They're very set in what they do, beautiful and stunning side by sides that would give English guns, by the look of it, a run for their money. There was a particular one with a Fleur-De-Lis safety catch, and all of their guns have these beautiful little touches. This one was particularly beautiful, a safety catch with carved Fleur-De-Lis on that was just beautifully done. And it's these little things that actually make their guns particularly beautiful. Their attention to detail is apparently unbelievable. Go check them out. Don't blame me if you waste a day on their website. We'll all do it. It's fine. Number 9 on the list is J.C. Savin Moth. Many of you remember the Moth gun that we reviewed at Holt's back last year, and it was rather unique and beautiful. This guy knows how to put a gun together. Let's say that this gun was particularly unique and special, and not all of his guns follow that style. In fact, there is more regular and boring box locks and side locks and all sorts that you'll find under this maker's name, and they are all very, very nicely finished, beautiful, classic and elegant. However, and I don't want to mock the rest of his work because it is very nicely put together, but if you're going to judge a man by something, judge him by this. I mean, I've never seen a gun like that before. The brain that put that gun together is just... that's an artist right there. This guy is clearly an artist. And as much as he expresses that in a more standard way most of the time, what a gun. What a gun. And finally, well, this one doesn't really fit in. This is Nexter Systems, a government-owned or people-owned or publicly owned arms manufacturing company of France. They've picked up a couple of companies under their banner along the way, and that includes MAS, the Manufacturer d'Armes de Saint-Étienne. And as you'll guess, that includes all of the military arms are made under this Nexter Systems. Those guns include, but are not limited to, the FAMAS, the Fusil d'Assaut du Manufacture d'Armes de Saint-Étienne, a Wasp 58, a anti-tank lightweight rocket launcher. That's quite cool. Or anti-armor lightweight rocket launcher. Let's get back to the FAMAS, the Bugle. That's quite a smart looking gun. They're actually phasing that out at the moment, but served their armed forces for nearly 60 years, so it's not a bad gun design. That's quite smart. We like that. The FRF2 sniper rifle is still made by them. That's, well, it's France's issue sniper rifle. In fact, obviously these guys make not just guns, but arms and armour and trucks and all sorts of other stuff and equipment for the French military, and they are a military contractor. That we have equivalents in every other country in the world. But it would do France a disservice not to mention that they do make all of their own firearms in their own country, and that is one of their biggest gun makers, and if you didn't give them a mention, well, that would kind of suck, because, well, it's probably the biggest gun maker in France. The last one from Nexter Systems I mentioned is the ADR, which is this super fast, super short submachine gun. Quite unique, quite smart, odd caliber, but go and check all these things out. And we're done. That was the 10 French gun makers, which is about the only 10 French gun makers that produce on any scale. I may have missed some, but they are probably makers that don't advertise or aren't shown to the world. We have plenty in the UK as well of makers who make 1 or 2 guns a year and just fly under the radar, and if you don't know who they are, it's not worth knowing about, kind of thing. But those makers also in the UK are some of the best, so I expect we've missed out some of the best UK French makers. I'd love it if you know them. Bang them down below, and we'll give them an honorary mention in a future film about secret French gun makers you didn't know about. Guys, take care, be excellent to one another, and I hope you're well, and I hope your families are well. Stay safe, and we'll see you soon.